Thank God we're out of this shutdown potentially. That's the thing.
Yeah, are we?
Today.
Are we though?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah.
Are we?
Yeah. The Democrats stepped up or folded, depending on who you're talking to, and solved this for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. It's so clear now that all they did was they held this for the election to try to win the election, and they're ready to fold. And we are seeing people with real problems all around the country. Socialism is becoming popular because quite honestly, the right is not answering the question, what do we do from here? We are in what's called a K-shaped economy right now, and that's what happens after a crisis when different groups head to different opposite directions and locations. If you think about a K, you think the upper line goes up, and the lower line, that's the up are the people with assets and homes and stable jobs, and they'll do well. But the lower line goes down, and that's the people living paycheck to paycheck, the renters, the small businesses, the wage earners that all fall behind. And right now you're seeing on television, oh my gosh, look at the stock market is up. All of these things are going up. Well, that's great. Some rise, some sink, but the gap is widening here. The K at the very beginning where the two lines meet is very, very close to each other. But as they keep going, those lines become further and further apart. And there is a moment in, there's a moment. How can I explain this? Remember the old country fairs? You probably never went to one, but maybe you saw it on TV where, there's a strongman contest. And there's that thing where, you hit the thing with a hammer and the bell goes up and goes bing. That's what's happening right now. There's a strongman contest going on right now, and everybody leans in to see, is this guy going to be able to ring the bell? And he, takes the big hammer and he swings it, and the puck goes up and it rings the bell. Some swing just as hard, and the puck barely budges. Okay, same hammer, same pole, different outcomes. That's a K-shaped economy. And we live in a moment where the puck is going up for those who already own a house and or have investments or, run businesses that survive the storm. And, they swing the hammer and the bell goes up and rings the bell. But the family down the street, the young couple that's trying to buy their first house, the small shop owner who never reopened, they're swinging just as hard, but the puck is just barely going up at all. And the system says, try again, step right up, try again, and then hands a smaller hammer. A K-shaped economy is not philosophy. It's not a political slogan. It's what happens when a government prints money like confetti and then watches inflation climb a ladder that is missing rungs and then tells you, don't worry, the economy is booming. I'm sorry, but the economy is not booming for a lot of Americans. And there are big changes being made right now at the global level. And I like the changes that are being made at the global level, but we are forgetting there are too many people that are really hurting right now. We are going to continue to work and continue to spin our wheels on socialism until there is a new idea on how we're going to get out of this problem. And Donald Trump is working on a long-term solution, but I fear that's not going to be enough. I heard a crazy idea today about a 50-year mortgage. Oh, wow. So the average person is in their house for 12 years, and I got a 30-year mortgage, which means I'm not really putting very much into it because the bank is taking all of the interest rates for the first, 10 years at least. They're taking all the interest first. And then I don't really start paying on my house off until the last 15 years of that mortgage. But now, instead of a 30-year, you want me to do it for 50 years? Oh, okay. Well, what is that going to do? Well, first of all, it's going to raise the price of the house. I mean, if everybody starts to get able to, I get a 50-year mortgage, so I can afford a house. We have a shortage of housing, so the mortgages, the house payments, the house prices are going to go up because we have a lack of housing. And then on top of it, you're going to double the payment anyway because you're paying all that extra interest. You're just charging more and stretching it out. It's like solving hunger by not giving food, but just giving longer straws to people. Okay, wait, what? You're going to pay double for the same house. It means double the interest rates. And while your roof has to be repaired, the brand new wiring that you had when you bought the house all needs to be redone. The appliances have to be replaced. The bathroom is completely out of date. It all has to be replaced again. You're still paying on that house. Okay, this is like buying not one house, but two houses. And it's not freedom. It is trapping you. And, what really bothers me is it is home ownership. No, I'm sorry. It's renting disguised as home ownership. That's what that is. You're not going to build equity into a house like that. You won't own your home until you're in your 80s. And if you bought it later in life, your children are going to inherit the payments that you have. It masks the problem that we really have is home prices because we don't have enough homes. We also have these giant corporations that are buying up homes en masse and then renting them to us. And we also have prices for the home that is broken from the wage. A 50-year mortgage is like giving somebody a longer plank, on a sinking ship. No, I mean, I'm going to end up in the water anyway. I guess that's helpful in a strange sort of way. What we don't understand is these are the conditions in which socialism thrives. If we keep just trying to say socialism is wrong, we're not going to help anyone. There's two things that have to happen. We, A, have to come up with new solutions for these very old problems, and the new solutions cannot involve printing more money, bailing the banks out, giving the banks more interest, or anything like that. Because socialism is coming with a vengeance. And boy, I got to tell you, it is going to have all kinds of answers because it always does. In January, I'm going to start something new called The Torch, and it exists really for one reason. We're running out of time to relearn what our grandparents knew by heart. Okay, the lies that we face today are not new. They're old ghosts wearing just modern clothes. And starting January, I'm dedicating the next part of my life, the last part of my career, to education on history and usable things, going deep. The thing about broadcast is you go very wide and very shallow. I need to go narrow and deep at times. We're still going to be doing what I do here every day, which is bringing you all the news and trying to make sense of it. But I need to go deep on things, and socialism is one of them. So we are working right now on new programs, a new podcast, a new daily rhythm of learning that I've never done before. And some of these shows are just going to be you and me every single day, just walking through history with a flashlight in one hand and the truth in the other, trying to figure out what's going on. But one of the lessons that I think we need in this is a series on socialism, on why it never works, how it happens, and how the lies always begin exactly the same. This is the kind of work that the Torch is being built for. So let me just give you a highlight of one lesson on how whenever a society gets into this situation, history will show us a poisoned promise begins. Let me give you with a K-shaped economy. The socialists always arrive making all kinds of poison promises. And there is a pattern, and it is so ancient it could be scripture, also modern enough to sit on the news crawl as you're watching, whatever news you're watching. Every socialist experiment starts with the same smooth-tongued promise. We are going to make life fair. Unfortunately, for socialists, history keeps impeccable books. The receipts are really, really damning. Fortunately for socialists, nobody ever reads history. So let's take just a quick stop at history for a second. Hugo Chavez is probably the latest. When Chavez took power in Venezuela, it was 1999, and he told the nation, which was booming. It was like America 2000, okay? He said he's building a new revolution that would create a classless society where oil wealth would lift the poorest into dignity. Okay, he had the richest country, besides, I think, the United States of America, in the Western Hemisphere. He said it wasn't enough. We need no more hunger, no more shanty towns, and the state will guarantee your rights. And we're gonna distribute the wealth of the rich to the people. And everybody cheered, and everybody was so very excited. And for a short moment, the fantasy glowed, because it always glows for just a fraction of a second. He nationalized the oil industry, and then he said poverty he would end by decree. Well, he ended something by decree. By 2014, the shelves were completely empty in the stores. By 2016, the average Venezuelan was losing over 20 pounds a year due to food shortages. Let me just remind you that by 2016, they were eating the dogs and the cats in the streets. Not making that up. Look it up yourself. And the zoo animals in the cages of the zoo were also being cooked up for people on the streets to eat. Hospitals lost their power. Children died from treatable diseases. Millions fled the country. And today, Venezuela sits on the largest proven oil reserves in the world. And yet people are standing in line for bread while the daughters of the socialist elite post photos of European vacations. What's happening to the fairness revolution there? It ended with a ruling class gorging on privilege and the nation digging through dumpsters for meals. That's the way it always happens. It's not an outlier. It's the rule. Look at Cuba, 1959, Fidel Castro. I'm quoting, "The revolution will bring justice, equality, education, and health care for all. Freedom from American exploitation." Che declared that Cuba would become an example of a new humanity. Well, what followed? Well, first thing they did was they shut down the independent newspapers. They were shut down by 1960. Then they imprisoned people in labor camps for being counter-revolutionary, including priests, teachers, and homosexuals. Yeah, that Che. Then food rationing began in 1962. By the way, food rationing in Cuba has never ended. Today, the average salary in Cuba is $15 a month. Now, the same Communist Party that claimed to abolish class created the most immovable ruling class in the Caribbean. And yet the billboards still show smiling peasants and slogans about equality, while the sons of party officials are driving imported cars through Havana's rotting streets, and everybody else has to fix a car from the 1950s. Remember, the promise was fairness, but the result was an island-sized cage. All right, it was just those two. Well, let's look at Germany. The Nazis were the National Socialists. Hitler didn't sell Nazism as tyranny. He sold it as social justice for the German worker. The Nazi platform, 1920, promised abolition of unearned incomes, profit sharing in large industries, nationalization of trust, land reform because there just wasn't enough space for people to own their own houses, all in the interest of the common good. It was marketed as a workers' movement, a socialist workers' movement. And it was going to correct all the inequality, punish the greedy capitalist, and restore fairness. So what happened? Well, first the disabled had to go and the sick children because we can't afford to keep them going. And the political dissenters, they were just stopping us from all this progress. Oh, and the Jews, of course, and the Slavs, and the Poles. I mean, anyone who didn't fit the utopian math, they were gone. The promise of fairness became the most industrialized murder machine the world has ever seen. But don't worry, we could also go to the Soviet Union, the grand cathedral of socialist dreams. Here's what Lenin promised. We'll bring about the complete equality of all citizens, end quote. The state, quoting, will wither away. Oh, yeah. The workers will own the factories. The peasants will own the land. Okay, so they got power, and what happened? Well, none of that. Under Stalin, over 100,000 priests were executed or sent to camps. Why? Why do they keep going after the religious people? Because the religious people are the only ones who will stand against monsters. That's why. Millions of Ukrainian peasants were starved under the Holodomor for refusing the collectivization. Read that story. It's horrific. The workers' paradise required one of the largest secret police forces in human history. Why? Soviet Union became a nation where you waited hours to buy bread. Party members, however, if you were in the party and you were high up, you could get anything you wanted. You had luxury stores that were built just for you. By the 1980s, the system was so hollow that the most basic consumer goods, soap, shoes, toilet paper, they were rationed or unavailable. And by the way, the state never withered away. It metastasized into every corner of life. It became everything. This story of socialism is written in blood, in ledger books all over the world. And it always starts with the promise of equity or equality. And it always leads to the rise of an elite who decides what equality means. And every time it fails, they say, well, that was just put in the hands of the wrong people. No, the key word here is not wrong. It's people. People. The workers never get the factories. The peasants never receive the land. The poor never get any of the wealth. And it's this story over and over and over again. Socialism begins with a promise, but always ends with a ruling class armed with absolute power. Only the names change. Did you know in Jamestown in 1619, that boat that the New York Times said arrived with slaves didn't arrive with slaves. It arrived with socialism. It ended in cannibalism. Did you know that the Pilgrims tried the same thing? They decided, we should put everybody's money into a big pile and you just take whatever you need because that's the Christian thing to do. You know what that ended with? Starvation and death. By the way, the Reunion Tower in Dallas, that big ball that you see in the sky, you know what that is? That's to mark Reunion. That was the first socialist town in 1855 in Dallas. Guess how that ended?
Glenn
Starvation.
Beck.